Welcome back. We're talking about how to heal the dynamic between police and community, the tensions that are there. And these are two very powerful pieces of video that show just how under attack each side feels. First, Sergeant Shamar Thomas of New York City.
Leave these people alone. They're U.S. citizens. U.S. citizens. U.S. citizens. U.S. It does not make you tough to do this to them. It doesn't. Stop hurting these people, man. Why y'all do this to our people? I've been to Iraq 14 months. For my people, you come over here and hurt them. They don't have guns. They don't have guns. They don't. Why are you hurting these people? It doesn't make any sense.
Respect. What did you see tonight that bothered you?
I was here on October 5th. I saw them beating people, people that had nothing to do with anything, just grabbing people out the crowd. There's no honor in that. My mom, my father, everybody has served in Iraq, Afghanistan war. I did 14 months in Iraq. I don't come home. I'm in New York City. I am from New York City, and these cops are hurting people that I fought to protect. There's no reason for this. There's no honor in hurting unarmed civilians, and I won't let it happen.
Now you hear that from an Iraqi veteran, but on the other side, you hear police say this, such as Police Chief McLeay here in Pittsburgh just a few months ago.
Police in this country are under assault. They're under constant criticism. They're doing an incredibly difficult job under incredibly difficult circumstances. Sometimes they're killed for the privilege of trying to serve their community.
We appreciate their sacrifice for that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And to go to what he's referring to, here's this video that was just released last week, Fort Wayne, Indiana, where 3 intoxicated individuals in an IHOP at 2 o'clock in the morning continuously get in the police officer's face, call him names that literally were so vulgar that I could not play any of the sound from this video at all. Every word that your mother and father told you you could not say, especially around a church, these individuals are saying, to the point where the woman eventually gets arrested. But as you can see, he's trying to walk her out slowly. He just called for backup. And literally, this video goes on for 7 minutes long. What would have happened, and I brought this example up when I first saw the video, when I talked to our team here at NightTalk, Get to the Point. What would have happened if that intoxicated individual, rather than calling that police officer every name on the book, ended up grabbing a glass ketchup bottle and hitting him over the head? These are the type of things, Ellis Cannon, that people are going through. You have communities that feel like they're under attack because they do see incidences of police misconduct. But then police go through that every single day. So you have two sides of mistrust, and then you have these high-profile cases that continuously seem to come out every time we turn around.
And depending on your point of view, reinforce that point of view, which is why I said the polarization of the country. A couple of things. Look, there's something obviously fundamentally wrong to Timyka's point, and I thought I felt a lot of passion with it, as it relates to what a young person sees, what a 5-year-old sees. There is something obviously fundamentally wrong when I see a police officer as a friend and somebody sees him as a foe. I mean, he's wearing the same uniform, he's the same person. It speaks to a greater breakdown, obviously, however we want to define it. But we also have to be on the real here, so to speak. You know, if there's a culture where you can't come out and say what's up because you're a snitch, if you grow up in a community where, and I'm going to put institutionalized.
But let me ask you this question, E. Who are you referring to? Because people say that goes on in the police culture as well as in the urban community culture.
For purposes of my comment, and I understand it does, I'm referencing the urban environment. Okay. And while I will put aside institutionalized forms of racism and bigotry, which is a whole different issue, but very difficult as well, I'm going to say there's a level of personal responsibility that at times gets whisked away, that needs to be talked about. There's the whole thing of examining this from not always a racial point of view. There's a law enforcement point of view, and whether or not the law enforcement was handled appropriately, training and otherwise.
But hold on for just a second on that, Ellis. Tamika, I'm going to go to you and then I'm going to go to you, Beth, on this. Yes, you can look at it as just a law enforcement point of view, but there are also statistics out there showing that
I didn't say just.
I understand that, but every 28 hours, there's an unarmed or an African-American male that is accosted or shot at the hands of a police officer. And these numbers have been kept since 2012. When you see these numbers, when you look at the numbers of stop and frisk in New York City, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Los Angeles, I've witnessed these things on the south side of Chicago, here in Pittsburgh and elsewhere. When you see this, Timyka, it's very hard to sit there and say this is just a law enforcement issue.
Absolutely, and you know my own personal story, and not a lot of people do, but I know Beth knows as well. I'm one of those people that has been particularly affected by this particular issue. When I was 7 years old, and I'm not going to tell you what year that was, but when I was 7 years old, my father, my biological father, was shot and killed by a police officer, an unarmed black man shot and killed by, I believe it was a white or Latino police officer. I really don't have a lot of details from that time because I was such a small little girl, but you know, from my understanding, it was a traffic stop. And I don't know what happened. I know my dad did have a criminal record, so I can only imagine what he was thinking, having been stopped by a police officer on the streets of Philadelphia, and at this point had not done anything wrong, where his mind might have been at that time. But it's my understanding that during a stop and frisk, he had handcuffs on, and his you know, he was handcuffed with his hands behind his back. He was shot in the back of his head. And my understanding is that my mother did win a wrongful death lawsuit. She didn't want to go through the whole court system, and she didn't want to put my family through that. So we did win a wrongful death lawsuit from the city of Philadelphia. But the reason why I think my heart goes to these small kids is because I know that myself, I grew up sort of fearing police officers. And I also grew up wanting to tell both sides of the story. As a journalist, and that's why I think I got into this business, because I realized that there's always two sides, and then there's the truth, and maybe even several truths. Yeah. I don't know, but it definitely, you know, as a child, it has definitely impacted the way that I look at police officers. I look at them with respect. I also look at them with fear. But over the years, having been a journalist and having got to know so many law enforcement officers, they're good people, and they have hard jobs. It is a tough job. I wouldn't want to do it, you know, and it calls for a certain character and a certain person that can look at a situation and go into a situation as they do every day, put your life on the line, and have to make quick judgments with a gun and a holster on your side. I mean, it's very difficult.
And first, I want to express my condolences to you, even though I know it was years ago, not that many years ago, probably only about a decade.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Still want to express our condolences. And when we come back, I know that Beth Pittinger actually went out on a ride with several police officers here in the city of Pittsburgh. I want to talk to her about that experience with what Timyka just said in regards to quick decisions. Don't go anywhere. We're talking about that next here on Night Talk. Get to the point.